Hello, I'm Dr. Foster. I'm presenting the time management seminar this afternoon. Perhaps the first thing we should address is why am I the one talking about time management? And all I can say to that is I got through a PhD and an undergrad and a master's, not by being the smartest, but by managing my time and taking a beating and surviving to get to the other end. Time wasters. Number one, cell phones. I think we all have video games installed on our phones. It seems like the main reason we buy them right now is what kind of frame rate we can get and what kind of graphics we can get with the latest Iron Man simulation. Personally, I use cell phone games when I'm sitting at the barbershop and I've got 10 or 15 minutes and there's nothing more productive to do. I see a lot of students playing cell phone games between classes. That's actually a time where I would recommend not playing games. Get yourself in the mindset of that class. Take a couple minutes, refresh what you did that previous lecture, figure out what's going on so when the professor comes in, you can ask questions, or at least in the mindset to start absorbing that material. You're not spending time ramping up to figure out what was going on in that class a week ago. Social networks, I wish could be wiped from the face of the planet. I have never walked away from Facebook thinking, wow, I'm glad I spent that 3.5 hours reading what my friends did last night. Hanging with friends, huge time waster. It's fun, it's convenient. There were a number of times I fell victim to a friend just walking by saying, hi, how's it going? 2 hours later, you realize I have lost all of my study time. Find a quiet place to work, find some place your friends can't disturb you, bedroom with the door closed where your friends know not to knock and interrupt you. There was a computer science guy, in fact, and this was not official, this was just a guy who sat in a cube writing programs day after day who concentrated intensely on what he was doing. Someone would come by at 11 o'clock, say, hey, you want to get lunch in an hour? And he'd say no. And he figured out it took him about 15 minutes to get back in the mindset to work in that program hard. Because we have this mental context switch in our heads that when we get interrupted, it takes us a while to get back to it. Experimentally, I figured out about the same thing. So it helps to have a nice quiet place where people can stay away from you. Another time waster, back to something I said a little bit earlier, getting stuck on a homework problem. I tell my students, if you can't figure something out in 15 minutes, stop, ask the professor, get some help. Huge time waster, studying. There's more to that bullet. Studying what you already know. People like to feel good about themselves, naturally. So if you want to feel good while you're studying, you read the chapters of the book that you're comfortable with. I tutored for about 10 years. I have seen students look at a physics problem, they read it, oh, I know exactly how to do that. They'd start writing out equations. 10 minutes later, they'd crank out the right answer, confirm it, yep, got the right answer, and continue on to the next problem they could do correctly. Total waste of time. You should be working the problems and setting the problems you can't solve yet. Skipping class, also a huge time waster. If your professor doesn't have an attendance policy, they still expect you to be there. I, in fact, aced a final exam that I didn't complete because I didn't skip class, and the professor thought I was an engaged, concerned student. I was an engaged, concerned student. Let's not mix that up. But he was a fairly distracted guy, wasn't really paying attention to what he did a lot. It was a take-home final exam. I will also suggest if you ever have the option between a take-home final and an in-class final, take the in-class final. At least you can finish that one in an hour and a half. But after this 3-day take-home final exam, I drove to campus. He wasn't there. I answered 5 out of 6 problems. 3 I know I got right. 2 were complete guesses that took about 18 hours of work. The 6th one I didn't even attempt. I thought he copied it from the wrong class. I slid it under his door. As it slid under his door, I could feel the paperclip come off. And I know when he opened his office door, he spread my pages all around his floor, panicked, gathered them up, said, I can't find one of his problems, but he showed up every day. He asked questions. He was a good student. I guess I can't find it. Gave me credit for the answer I didn't complete. Don't try that with me, because I know that trick. But I don't know if any other faculty members are going to watch this seminar, so at least try it a couple times if you feel like gambling.